All right, y'all, we are live on this beautiful Friday afternoon. May God bless everybody in the name of Jesus, Yeshua, the Messiah. I pray everybody is blessed in multiple ways as Bitcoin is losing 98,125 as we are dumping down. God bless everybody in the chat. Make sure to like the stream as usual. If we can get 1,000 likes within the first half hour, we will be giving away 1,000 USDT, baby. Shout out to Ollie. Do I sleep naked? You know, I used to, but I've been trying something new, which is sleeping in a shirt, underwear, shorts, and socks. And you know what? I've been kind of liking the clothed sleeping. I've been making some changes in my life. Been working out at night, been sleeping with clothes on, been cutting back on the caffeine. It's been an interesting time in my life. Shout out to Arthur. He says, we are all screwed. Shout out to Bullish on Parade. Shout out to Dowsy Boy. Shout out to Tiberius Ill-8 Joe. Lasers go pew pew. And shout out to Crypto Coons holding it down with the wrench. God bless you, my man. Big shout out to Lax. Min, R-I-N, Patra, 1207. Says Sega is breaking out. Sega, Sega Genesis. You're long, and get liquidated. Let's go. Long ETH Mao. Says Abba Rezvani. Shout out to Eddie. He says reclaimed the POC, baby. 104, please. Time to pump again, says Kevin. Hail Rider, LMAO morons say things like confirmed make me laugh. I hope Jason isn't short from 97.3. What am I short from? Short from 100,000. I'm short from 100,000, baby. Isn't that crazy? Short from 100,000? Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Been short all week, says Santiano Mourinho. Shout out to HFG, God bless you. Shout out to Cryptoholic Love, who says don't forget to smosh the likes. Major shout out to Nathan Qatar. This isn't a bad thing, it's opportunity. I think you mean this isn't a bad thing, it's opportunity. Little puppies, then more rumor, says Nathan Qatar. It's the Jason Casper guy, says Sigma Pill. Shout out to Make Bells. When I go short, the market long. The FUK? Well, the truth is, bro, I mean, honestly, would you short the exact bottom? I mean, come on. We are coming down to a major area of support that we've been talking about literally since the all-time high, guys. So I hope nobody's shorting now. But if you are, hey, maybe it'll work out for you. I mean, you know, we are in Dump City, but we are coming down to major support. This is the exact chart I showed yesterday before I ended my stream, that we are coming down to multiple areas of confluence. We have mad intersectionality down here. We got the GP, we got the VAL, we got the POC, we got the anchored VWAP, we got the CD dub, we got the regular POC, baby. We have the bottom of the range. All right, we got a lot of stuff here. This is a make it or break it level for Bitcoin right now, guys. Oh my goodness, the most sensational YouTube live stream I've ever done in my life. The most sensational YouTube live stream I've ever done in my life. I can't even believe it, to be honest with you. We have some crazy things in the news today, guys. First of all, and this ain't no surprise, Bitcoin dives to a 6-month low, right? We just took out June's low. Right? We just came down to a 6-month low. Pretty crazy, right? Bitcoin fell over 6%, trading around $97 right now, making it the weakest Bitcoin price since June. Total market cap dropped about 6.9% in 24 hours to about 3.2 trillion. Bitcoin's total market cap fell 5% to 1.9 trillion. The sell-off, at least this is what the news says, is driven largely by the U.S. economic uncertainty, particularly fading expectations for a rate cut by the Federal Reserve in December. All right. Jerome Powell came out a little bit hawkish last time. He said, you know what, guys? Don't count on a rate cut in December. You guys were hoping for a rate cut because I know you crypto guys, you like inflation because it pumps your crypto bags. And you stock people love inflation because it pumps the bags. Don't count on the inflation this December, says Jerome Powell. As a result of Jerome Powell's hawkish tone, the probability of a December interest rate cut dropped to about 45%, and that's down from about 63.8% a week ago. So about a week ago, guys, FedWatch was suspecting that there's a 63% chance of a rate cut in December. Now, 45%. Means less than half, less than 50% chance right now, and they're usually pretty spot on about this at the CME FedWatch. Less than 50% chance that we are going to get a rate cut in December. And as we know, rate cuts are bullish for crypto because inflation is bullish for risk assets. You know, it's weird, right? When inflation goes up, that means the price of stuff goes up. Well, if you're holding stuff, that's good for your stuff, right? It's good for your stuff. If the Bitcoin you're holding gets inflated, well, you like that because then you can sell it up here, and the fiat that you can get up here, you know, it's going to offset the inflation. Like your normal person working a 9 to 5, their purchasing power goes down. But if you're in the market, yeah, inflation's going up. Yeah, the purchasing power of your dollar goes down. But now you got way more dollars to work with up here than you would have if you just hold your dollars down here and the value of the dollar is dropping. You know, if the value of the dollar is dropping, well, at least your dropped value now gives you this much purchasing power up here as opposed to this much purchasing power down here. Right? So people in the markets love inflation. That's why the corrupt Keynesian deficit spending fiat currency system runs on inflation only. So the elite, the people at the top, get all the purchasing power and the little people get screwed, right? But that's bearish if inflation's not going up. That is bearish for risk assets. All right? Now, some other interesting things going on right now. The XRP spot ETF, 26 million volume in the first 30 minutes. Now, this is not bearish for crypto at all. Right now, this is not bearish for crypto at all. The spot ETF launched by Canary Capital for XRP. The ticker is XRPC. All right, we're going to take a look at that real quick. XRPC has just launched, and this is pretty big, honestly. This is pretty big. Let's check it out. Just launched, and it looks like within the first, I don't know if this is the right ticker, honestly. Let's see. No, this is just the index. Well, I don't know. I've never actually myself looked at the ticker, but it is true that it has racked up 26 million volume in the first 30 minutes after launching, which already surpasses the full day estimate. People were expecting 17 million within the first day. This thing racked up 26 million within half an hour. And because of this strong start, this ETF is considered to have a good shot, according to this article, at becoming the most successful fund debut of the year, overtaking the Bitwise Solana staking ETF, which had 57 million in the first day. So, you know, we're basically half of what the Bitwise Solana ETF had in one day in 30 minutes, right? So this is interesting. I mean, this is showing us people are at least taking crypto seriously, and even if we're heading into a bit of a bearish trend, you know, it's not bearish for the industry, period. All right. I mean, look, a strong debut of an ETF, it does suggest strong institutional interest in cryptocurrency, and that is bullish long term, right? This could further drive liquidity and price action in XRP as the asset, not just the ETF, but XRP itself. And of course, when people get interested in one crypto, they get interested in other cryptos. You know? So, this also could signal, potentially, a momentum catalyst. We're seeing some bearishness in the crypto markets, but let's remember that the Bitcoin price is coming down to a major zone of support that we've been looking at literally for 27 years. All right, I remember being a little kid of only 8 years old, live streaming, telling you guys about this key level we do have some interesting things happening. All right. Also, guys, we do have another interesting take on the market here. Crypto Potato, everything hot in crypto. What a cool website. Talking about how the 4-year cycle is crumbling. All right. And, you know, they actually have an optimistic perspective on the fact that there has not been an alt season so far. They have an optimistic perspective. And the reason why is because, well, essentially what they're saying here is the fact that we haven't yet seen the typical mania phase of the crypto cycle, the fact that we haven't seen altcoins go crazy, is making analysts at Crypto Potato suggest, well, I mean, honestly, even the co-founder of BitMEXC. So these are some pretty established people within the industry, suggest that we're potentially going to see our top in 2027 or even 2028, and we're going to see an extended cycle due to the ETFs and the institutional interest in cryptocurrency. Even Plan B, the famous Plan B, who predicted a $98,000 Bitcoin by November 2021, is warning everybody, saying, look, we only have 3 4-year cycles in the past, and betting on the 4th one is risky, says Plan B. And so it is quite interesting to see the possible paradigm shift of Bitcoin moving out of the simple halving mania peak model and potentially entering into a more broader liquidity driven phase where we see steady increase, smaller pullbacks, similar to traditional markets like the S&P 500. And so this brings us right to our Bitcoin chart, because we know right now that we are at major support, extreme support. This is the 90, I'd say, let's be real here. It really is this, guys. Okay. If we're going to be real about it, it really is this. Basically, the golden pocket down to the 786. This is a zone that we are entering into right now, where either we see consolidation for another leg to the upside, which continues in an uptrend, which will be unprecedented, officially breaking the 4-year cycle, or we see much more downside. The low to mid 90s, as you can see here, is pretty much the last stop that we have before we start to lose some major supports. All right, if we just take a look at the trend line from these lows, basically that we've been forming here since the big breakout of 2023, right? Basically ever since we broke out of the major support resistance flip around $30,000, it was our support in 2021, it was support in 2022 before the bear market. Once we break bear market resistance, you can see this trend line is super important. And we could pull this trend line a few different ways, all right? But you can see in general, this trend line here, if we're gonna take it, we're just gonna straight up, we're gonna pull an old-fashioned Gareth Salloway here, all right? We could take everything else off the chart and just use this green Gareth Salloway line. This really is the doorway back into bearish territory, right? So if we're gonna see an extended bull market with a peak in 2026, instead of 2025, or even 2027 or 2028, is Plan B. The master of cryptocurrency on X and YouTube is suggesting, well, this is probably the place where it's going to be, all right? Which is why we have been looking for and interested in swing long positions from this exact area. If the uptrend continues from here, this is where it's going to continue from. This is very important for us to recognize. And so let's take a look at our 2-month time frame on Market Cypher B. All right, let's just do some top-down analysis to see what's most probable. Well, we do see some major warning signs here on the 2-month time frame, which is this: a confirmed 2-month bearish divergence. All right, is the bear market here? Well, you know, obviously we don't have very many market cycles to go on, as Plan B himself says. All right, the 98,000 by November 2021 guy says. But every time we get a bearish divergence on the 2-month time frame, happened in 2014, happened in 2018, happened in 2021, it marks the top. it marks the beginning of some serious consolidation. Now, what can we say that's different about this time? All right, let's be objective here. This chart, this bull run does not look the same as other bull runs, right? We have not seen the big, crazy, massive pumps that come after the halving, right? These are all post-halving pumps that go absolutely nuts. This time, what have we seen? Well, we have seen a slow and steady grind to the upside here. It's a channel, it's an ascending channel, it's a slow and steady grind. So the characteristics of this are quite different. However, we do have to recognize the fact, guys, that we have broken down from the trend line. All right, we have broken down from the macro bull market trend line. This is the 2-month time frame, and we have confirmed a bearish divergence. So for this reason, we have to lean more bearish than bullish, in my opinion. It would be irresponsible right now to be leaning more bullish than bearish with confirmed 2-month divergence. We go to the 2-week, and what do we see? We see pretty bearish looking stuff, guys. I mean, honestly, we are seeing right now the momentum wave lower than it was here, bearish divergence, multiple drive of bearish divergence. You know, this is our second drive of 2-week bear div money flow coming out in the 2-week. All right, go to our 1 week. What do we see? We see a momentum wave coming down quite low here after printing some extremely bearish divergences. And again, if we flip the chart upside down, right, just objectively speaking, right, what would you think to yourself? What would you think to yourself if you saw this chart? Okay, you see we've been forming this a descending channel with all this liquidity here above, and you start to notice the oscillator on the really high time frames, the week, the 2-week, are printing really bullish divergences. I mean, you could pull it from here to here, right? You could even pull it right here, and you see like macro bullish divergences and then local bullish divergences, money flow getting higher. You know, potentially now the, you know, this is continuing. This momentum continuing to get higher here. You would expect that we get some kind of a pump. You would expect that we go for some of the liquidity here, right? You would expect probably that we at least come to back test the support resistance flip that we had from this last low here. Wouldn't we expect that? Yeah, we would. We would expect that. So the high time frame chart, guys, in my opinion, and remember, this is Bitcoin upside down. The high time frame chart, in my opinion, is showing that we should expect some downside, right? Now, let's discuss the levels that we have below us. Let's go down to a lower time frame here. We're going to go to our daily time frame right now. Money flow continues to come out on the daily time frame, and here's what we really need to be prepared and aware of. We are coming down right now to major support, which is this: the high volume node / value area low / Fibonacci golden pocket of the uptrend right now, okay? And so if this doesn't hold, what does that open us up to? Well, that opens us up to coming back down to the $74,000 low, right? That's exactly what it opens up. Why does it open us up to that? Well, let's just look at a little history. And let's understand that whenever we're trading an asset, we're always trying to identify the sideways range, right? Always, where's the sideways range? So when we were trading Bitcoin here, right, we recognized that when you come up to the highs of the range, you should look for a short trade, because we're trying to buy low and sell high. So when you come to the top of a sideways range, this is high, right? So the short trade from $125,000, which was given in real time on October 6th, 2025, was simply because we came to the top of the range, right? Here we had the top of our range marked. We came to the top, we saw a fake out, we looked at market cipher B, we had bearish divergence, right? So we took the trade, currently up $31,000 in profit. From the Casper Crew VIP Discord at jasoncaspertrading.com, click the link to join. All right, and then what happened? Then we started to trade the sideways range, right? So we came down here, and we're like, we need to be looking for long trades from the low of the range, right? And we had a few long trades from the low of the range, right? But then what happened? When we lost the low of the range, then what did we say? We said, okay, now our range, because we've lost this sideways range right here, once you lose that range, then you say, okay, so where's the larger range that we're trading? And we say, okay, well, 98K, that's going to be our next level. This is now the sideways range that we're going to be trading. So if this doesn't hold, guys, if the low of this range doesn't hold, guess what? Then the sideways range we're trading is going to be this. This is now going to be our range. This is going to be now our low and our high. You lose the low of one range, of the local range. The range is within ranges, right? We had this range, which was inside of this range, which is inside of this larger range. This is how you're going to get your support and resistance levels. You don't need fancy tools, really. You just need to look and say, okay, where are those support resistance levels based on what I can see with the naked eye, right? So if we're going to lose this box, well, yeah, we're going to come probably down to back test the low of the range, which is also going to be the back test of this support resistance flip going all the way back to 2021, right? Now, if we lose that, well, this opens up the door for potentially coming all the way back down to our high 30s. Our high 30s, okay? Let's go ahead and pull a fib from low to high here. Yeah, if we're not going to hold 65,000, I would suspect we come back down to our 786 at around the high 30s. That's just historical for Bitcoin pullbacks, all right? So this is what we need to be aware of right now. And again, this is not time to be overly bearish because we are at support, right? This is not time to be shorting, in my opinion, because we are at support, right? The short trades to be had were the ones that, you know, like from back here in the Casper crew on the 6th when we shorted $125,000, or even more recently a couple days ago where we took a short this week, I think on Monday, right, in the Casper Crew VIP Discord, because we came up to a key area, the value area low. We saw a chickens drinking water pattern and we had our bearish divergence, right? So that, in my opinion, this is not a time to be taking a short. If anything, gun to my head, I would have to be looking for a long trade. But let's just remember here that for now, things do look bearish on the oscillator. So what do we need to see? What do we need to see? Because the title of the video is Capitulation or Reset. What do we need to really see for us to suspect that we're going to bounce here? Well, we need to see, in my opinion, a daily close above 98K. Because that is going to put us back inside the range, all right? The weekly candle, if we can close the weekly candle above 98K, it's going to be very much so like back in January, right? Back in January 2024, we took the range low. We held below for a few days, but as soon as we close that candle above, this is now confirmation of a fake out to the downside, right? So honestly, a major sign of strength would be in 2 days, can we close the weekly candle above 98K? And if we can, that could actually allow us to get a move back to the top of our range, or at least the Fibonacci golden pocket retraced of around $115,000, where either we make a lower high, something like this, then continue down, or we just break out and go for those highs one more time, right? But we need to, in this instance, we need to be patient. I'd be very careful trying to catch a falling knife in these market conditions here, because we haven't, the trade to be taken here, honestly, is a reclaim of 98, in my opinion. Okay, there's a billion scalps to be taken. Let's be honest, there's a billion scalps you could take. But if we're looking for the swing trade, the big swing, right now, if we're longing here, which is not necessarily a bad idea per se, but you're doing it without much confirmation, right? You're doing it without a lot of confirmation. It's a lower probability setup, right? You're basically front running the confirmation, saying if the low is in, this is a great entry, so let me take a long. But we also have to understand that the zone for taking this long trade is quite large, okay? It is quite large of a zone. If we take our anchor VWAP from the August 4th low, we're currently bouncing from that right now. The last time we hit that VWAP, you know, we got a big bounce at first and then we chopped around, and we have to acknowledge the fact that the zone is between the golden pocket and the 786. Right, so that technically is going to bring us down to around an $85.4 thousand Bitcoin. Right, this is going to be the whole zone, basically these lows and these highs, the lows from December 2024 and the highs from March 2025. We have the big fair value gap right here on the weekly candle. You guys see that big old gap here, which could easily fill, right? So this is the zone to be looking, right? So the way I like to approach it is looking for a lower time frame setup within the more macro time frame zone, recognizing if I see a good long setup here, it could turn into something more than a scalp, right? It may or it may not, but this is definitely a place to look. All right. Yeah, so I have to say, I'm not feeling very bullish, sadly, but the one thing that does give me hope and solace, I don't know, is the fact that CryptoPotato.com, everything hot in crypto, all right, tells me that Plan B thinks maybe we can have, because the 4-year cycle is broken, we might see a top, we might see the mania come in next year, 2027-ish, 2028-ish, right? That would be crazy. That would be pretty dang crazy. That would be nice, right? Plan B suggested the next market top could just as easily occur in 26, 27, or even 28, adding that he is now more focused on Bitcoin's average price levels rather than short-term peaks and troughs. Troughs. That's one of those weird English words that people who learn English as an adult hate. What does that even say? What in the heck, English? What is going on? Trough? Trow? Trahugas? Trahugas. He's not looking for the short-term peaks and trahugas. According to him, the market has yet to undergo fundamental phase transition, which could either lead to a major rally or a more stable, institutionally influenced regime. Both outcomes he considers bullish, and honestly, let's be real, both outcomes are bullish. I mean, the massive amount of volatility in crypto has kept a lot of people away, but now that we're seeing more institutional money pour in, people want something more stable. They want something more like the S&P, where you just put your money in it and wait until you're old and ready to retire, you know? Go to school, work real hard, go to college, work real hard to get into debt, so you can get a job and get a house and go into more debt, and then be a wage slave your whole life to maybe, just maybe, pay off your debt, so that when you're old and your health is gone because you work so hard for somebody else making fiat currency that's losing more and more purchasing power every year because of the Federal Reserve, you can go to your good old S&P 500 investment, and you can afford to live the rest of your life in your easy chair in the living room watching baseball reruns until you die a death induced by the glyphosate sprayed all over your dang food. All right? That doesn't sound too fun, does it? Man, the American dream. The good old American dream, baby. Let's take a quick look at Ethereum. All right? So, let's just, let's remove everything here. Ethereum. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here's the deal, guys. We are once again losing 3,300, and we are well on our way, in my opinion, to the $2,900 value area low. All right, that's going to be our next area, the support resistance flip. Really weak sign, losing that POC. A weekly close below is not good for ETH, guys. All right, we definitely want to fill the October 10th wick right now, and this is not good for ETH. So let's talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. All right, let's just take Plan B's suggestion that the crypto market is more stable now, right? If that's the case, right, well then what could we maybe expect here? Well, I would say maybe a back test of 2,000 to 1,800 if we're going to see some bearishness, and because remember, we're losing, this is the 4-year value area, all right? The 4-year value area is lost. So now our next major support is going to be the bear market resistance, bull market support flip with the high volume node, right? This right here would actually, depending on how long it takes, and if we're going to see continued bullishness, we're not going to see a traditional bear market. We're going to see an extended bull market, but more consolidation, right? This would be beautiful, right? Because this would actually be, essentially, Ethereum coming back down to test major support again after making a nice low. Like, let's look at this objectively, right? We made a really nice low here. We took a lot of liquidity. We back tested major support. Now we make a higher high. Then we come back, we make a higher low. Major support resistance flip. All right, let's go ahead and pull. I'm pretty sure that's our 786. Yep, that's our 786 fib. Beautiful. And then we can see a breakout. And this would put us around the end of 2026. All right, so maybe we have an extra year of consolidation. Maybe we see that hype and mania coming in later next year. Okay? This is what we'd hope for. The good thing about Ethereum is this, guys. Here's the good thing about Ethereum. The good thing about Ethereum is, in my opinion, we can't go lower than what we already saw. Right? Like, the good thing is we've already been through the worst when it comes to Ethereum. We basically already come down to the 2022 low. I mean, what is really the difference between what do we come down to? 1,300 and 1,000. What is really the big? I mean, by the time you're that low, we've already been through the worst over the summer, right? And so the good thing about ETH is we're basically trading within this big old range here. And assuming that ETH eventually is going to be bullish, and I believe ETH is eventually going to be bullish, well, even in the event of the worst case scenario, it's not really that big of a deal in the long term, right? I have not sold any of my spot ETH that I bought in 2022. I might hold it all the way back down to $1,000, right? But this is not going to change my perspective of I bought ETH at cheap price. I'm looking to sell much higher, right? I'm looking to sell much higher. We take this off log scale, you know, I don't think it's crazy to see a $7,000, $8,000 ETH in the future, all right? So either way, we still bought low, and we're still looking to sell high. It's just going to take a little bit longer than we thought, right? Because the 4-year cycle is broken. If ETH loses the, I mean, if we're going to lose our, let's call it 2,800, we're most likely going to come back down to 2,000. Because that is really just that's going to be our big support. If we take all the bear and the bull together, that's going to be our really big support. So I don't know what's going to happen right now. It really depends on, in my opinion, Bitcoin. You know, is Bitcoin going to hold this key level? Because if it is, as we've been saying this whole time, as we're grinding down to $98,000, if Bitcoin's going to hold this level, that changes everything. That literally changes everything, because Bitcoin is holding the big support that we have here. All right, put this thing on log scale, and we have the good old Garris-Salloway trend line. Okay, slices from the bear to the bull. All right, literally, it was our support. We lost resistance, big old bump and run pattern. All right, this thing could be holding, depending on how you want to pull it, if we hold this area. And if not, well, then we're going to have to wait longer for the alts, in my opinion. All right? Bitcoin dominance, guys, is officially breaking down. All right? This is what we wanted to see for quite some time now. Bitcoin dominance officially breaking down. Let's see if we can finally close the daily candle below. Now, when the whole crypto market is dumping, we don't really care about Bitcoin dominance as much. All right? But if Bitcoin is going to hold the support that we've marked out, if we want to see altcoins get major gains, this needs to happen. This needs to happen. All right? We need to see money coming out of Bitcoin going into alts. If Bitcoin can hold key support, in other words, if money can stay in Bitcoin enough to keep it from dumping, and we're seeing that money leave Bitcoin and go into altcoins, that's bullish for altcoins. All right, we are finally starting to see the Bitcoin dominance take a tumble. Let's check out altcoin dominance today. So it's actually pretty neutral, but we are seeing a little bit of trying to get a little bit of a bounce here. So we are seeing some money rotate from Bitcoin into alts right now. I wonder if that has to do with the XRP ETF, all right? Because XRP, as you can see, is one of the few that's bullish on the day. I'll bet you a lot of people are bullish on XRP right now because of the ETF. which really is, again, I mean, the ETF is, it is pretty groundbreaking. I mean, they were expecting 17 million in 24 hours. We got 26 million in 30 minutes. Potentially the best ETF ever launched here. So we've got money flowing into XRP. But nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. Overall, I'd say the markets don't look super bullish right now. And I would recommend, you know, unless you're a day trader or a scalper, I would really recommend waiting for some major trend confirmations before making any decisions, because we are at a point in the cycle where historically big pullbacks have happened, and I would not be surprised if we see a $65,000 Bitcoin. My next take profit on my Bitcoin short is $65,000. All right, I'll be honest. I'm not going to take any more profit on the short unless we come down below the $73,000 low, right? Yes, it's key support, but if lost, we could come down much, 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 much more. You know? Let's take a quick look at Solana. Solana getting another drop here. We did not hold the October 10th low. I'm going to take a look at our weekly here. So I would say like the next major support for Solana is around 110, 112, right? We have, let's clear off everything on this chart. You know, doesn't take a mathematician or a rocket scientist just to see this, right? We had support, 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 liquidity grab, right? So we're trading in a sideways range, roughly like this being our highs, this being our lows, right? So we would expect now to come down and try and find some support from this area. That would be our next major zone for Solana. Let's check out the monthly time frame here. So sadly, we have confirmed we have half a month before we can confirm a red dot on Solana, which last time gave us 2 more months of downside. Let's go to the 2-week. So the 2-week potentially, guys, this is what we need to be really looking out for on the 2-week. The 2-week potentially could be giving us some kind of a hidden bullish divergence here. All right, if we do come down a little bit lower to around 110, if we're seeing the momentum coming down as the price is holding that support, that is a hidden bullish divergence, a potential continuation pattern. But the fact that we're losing the golden pocket right now, the fact that we're losing the October 10th lows, even though we tried to get a liquidity grab back here at the end of October, it makes downside more probable. And again, I hate being bearish. I try to be objective, but look, when you're losing macro supports with bearish signals, you have to be looking for more downside, or at least open to the probability of more downside. Even if you're super, super bullish, you have to recognize that it's not the most bullish thing in the world to be losing the Fibonacci golden. After a move like this, guys, all right, after a liquidity grab like this in March or April, and then just coming back up to resistance and getting a rejection and losing the 61.8% retracement, it's not the strongest look, right? You would expect this to be a serious bottom, and you would expect this to reach to a new all-time high, right? That's what you would expect. So yeah, I would say coming back down towards our 886 fib right now is going to be our most likely support. And that's going to be around, say, like 115 to 120-ish, 113 to 120-ish on Sol. Chainlink, still in the range, baby. You know, Chainlink's still in the range. You know, let's look for a lot of these assets to just stay in the range. If we're gonna head into a different type of market environment for crypto, where it's more than just a 4-year cycle, let's watch for a lot of these coins to just stay in the range. Again, we've twice seen Chainlink come back to bear market territory during this bull market, so it's not even that crazy. Like, if we just zoom out here, I'd say at least those of us who have been holding these alts now for 4 years, since 2022, 3 years, whatever, 3 years, at least we can say It's not like we held it all the way up to insane amounts of money and all the way back down. No, we held it up, we held it down, we held it up, we held it down, we held it up, we held it down. It's like, all right, we're doing nothing. All right, we're doing nothing. The portfolio number changed, but we're really doing nothing here. It does give us kind of the zoomed out perspective of Chainlink, objectively speaking, is a bullish asset. It's just the cycle might be a little different this time, right? Right? We're on some different things. Historically, we were blasting Trend and Deca, but we realized if we want to live to be 40, we need to stop that. So now we're just on, you know, enough T just to keep us at like 1200 at all times. Maybe a little bit of HGH, just enough. You know, we're not trying to get bubble gut. We're not trying to like change the structure of our face here. We're not trying to look like Rich Piana. Rest in peace. But you know, look, slow and steady makes the gains, right? Slow and steady makes the gains. Right? Right? We hope. We hope. Let's take a quick look at the S&P 500. You know, S&P 500, is this the future of Bitcoin? You know, we look back to 2020. Could this be the future of Bitcoin now? Just less intense bear markets, more intense bull markets. It's so crazy to look at what happened even in March 25 in the S&P 500. Let's go to the weekly here. Basically chilling at all-time highs. Let's go to our daily. Look at this, the S&P 500 getting a bounce on the daily here. Let's go lower. Wow, look at this. We've just seen a big bounce on S&P. Let's go to the NQ. This could be bullish for Bitcoin. Wow, look at NQ. CDW, chickens drinking water of the low here. With some nice bullish divergence even. Could this assist Bitcoin in its pump? Let's check out gold here. Gold bullish on the day. I'm sorry, bullish on the 4 hour, bearish on the day. Look at this, gold on the daily. You know, after that big run up, we came down 50% retracement, bounced off the 0.5 Fibonacci. Are we potentially going to form a cup and handle here on gold? You know, are we going to potentially form a cup and handle here on gold to break out? Is this a cup and handle forming? Is this a cup and handle forming? What do you guys think in the chat? Cup and handle? Is this a cup and handle? Let me know in the chat. We got to give a major shout out to our super chat. John Joe 6 Edge, he says, can you look at AR? Have a $15,000 position from $4.41. All right, let's take a look at AR from $4.41. So AR, we're basically saying if we can reclaim this support resistance flip with a back test, that is our ticket. But so far, pure rejection. So $4.41. Ooh, so you're a little under the water. You're basically right at your entry here. Right at the entry. All right. Oh yeah, so you're pretty underwater. Okay, man. Let's see. We're pretty much right at your entry there, huh? Okay, so I guess you're trying to long the 786 and the back test of the support resistance. Yeah, I can see why. I can see why you're doing this. We're coming back to the support resistance flip. So yeah, that's a good place to be looking for a long for sure. Let's see what we're looking like on our volume. Let's go to the 1 hour here. Okay, so we still have a ways to go before value area low here, locally, but macroly, this is an area of support. Let's see, we do have ourselves, like a local bottom, nice here, but we came to the top of the range, and we got a CDW. So here's what I would be looking at here. Essentially, invalidation needs to be under the low, right? If this is the bottom, we know where our invalidation is. If we make another higher low here, then we could see continued upside, but invalidation needs to be below the wick. because we could come down quite a bit further to the POC of the range, which is going to be down here at around $3.90, right? Because we've already lost value area high, right? So this is a key zone. I can see why you would long this. It's, in my opinion, a good place to look for a long. But yeah, invalidation definitely below the low here. I wouldn't be holding a underwater bag for too long on this one. But thank you so much for the super chat. Not financial advice. Not financial advice. Are we going down to 92K? Yeah, so essentially, look, the zone to hold for Bitcoin is going to be, yeah, 92K. This is a big zone where we're currently at, right? The golden pocket down to around the 78.6% Fibonacci retracement, right? First sign of strength for Bitcoin needs to be a reclaim of 98.125. Until we can reclaim 98.125, there's no real sign of strength, honestly. All right, my personal next TP on this short is going to be 65K. Reason is because if we don't hold this key zone, then we're coming back down there, right? So for me, I mean, considering the fact this is a really small short position, I think I have like 50 grand right now in shorts, maybe 50, 60 grand in shorts in total. Compared to my massive spot portfolio, I have no reason to take any profit on the shorts. I've already made like 25K on the shorts since October, so I'm happy with that. But yeah, this is a major zone where we're coming to right now. Yeah, major zone. It's a bear market. It's okay. Time to stack up on alts. 65K, what are you on about? Well, it's quite simple. Why would I look for $65,000 Bitcoin? It's so simple, guys. All right? It's so simple. First of all, we have to understand the importance of the level that we're at right now. Okay? Major support, bull market support, bull market trend line, depending on how you want to draw it, is going to be right in this zone that we're at right now. Anchored VWAP, golden pocket, 786. If we don't hold this, then remember, it's all about where's the sideways range, okay? So remember, when we took the short trade from $125,000, the reason why is because we were at the top of the sideways range, right? 125K was the top of our range. So when you come to the top of the range, you should be looking for a short. Right, we come up, we get a 1 hour bearish divergence, and so you look for a move back down to the bottom of the range. All right, now at the time, the bottom of the range was what? It was $109,000, right? At the time, the range was $109,000. Why? Because $109,000 was our previous low, right? Let's go back to like a 5-hour time frame so we can see better. You take that short, you expect to come back down to around, I'm sorry, it was like 108, 107,000. You would expect to come back down to these lows, right? This is where your target is. And then you look for a long there. Okay, we come down to there. Guess what? We get a bounce. Great. All right, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. It's a scam wick. All right, another bounce. Great. Okay, beautiful. We would look for a move to the top of the range, right? Of course, that didn't happen. Hopefully, everyone hit TP1 on those longs, which we did in the Casper Crew VIP Discord. In the Casper Crew, we took a long from 107. We took a profit one up at 115. And then we, pretty sure we turned it into a short from there. Okay? But why, in here, yeah, we're always looking for the sideways range, right? So again, we took a long from here because it was the bottom of the range. We took a short from here because we had now this range within a range, right? Where's the sideways range? This is how you're always going to get your levels to short. Where's the next support or resistance, right? So once you lose this bottom of the range, right? Once you lose this range here, guess what? Then where's the larger range? This was the smaller range, right? This was our micro range that we were trading, day trading. This was our larger range that we were swing trading. Once you lose the bottom of the larger range, then you're like, okay, where's the larger range? Okay, 92. I'm sorry, 98. So now we expect to move down to 98. Well, guess what? We got to move down to 98. from the short. You know, we took it on the 10th of November. All right, when was the 10th of November? It was right around here, right on this big wick here, right? We lost the range to the downside. We came back for the back test. we get into the short, and now we're looking down to 98, bottom of the range, okay? Well, now we're here, so we should be looking for a long. Guess what happens if we don't bounce from this area? Well, then where's the range? Where's the next large range to trade? It's this. It's this. Right? Now we're looking to take out $74,000. That's the next range to trade. And if we take a look at the volume, right? Let's remove our drawing so far. Let's take a look at all the volume that's traded here, right? Well, what do you know? The high volume node is right there at $67,000, right? Let's take a look at all of this. I'm just curious to see what... Wow, okay, and look, the value area high, right around 63.5. So what does that do? It tells us we're looking now to the bottom of our range, but not just the bottom of our range. Where are the key support levels that we have based on technical analysis? They're gonna be around $65,000, right? That we have multiple confluence around the $65,000 level. And so we're looking for a long trade from the bottom of our large range, which is this, right? This is now the range. So that's where you get the $65,000 from. You don't have to overcomplicate it. And when you zoom out on a large time frame, guess what? You pull the $65,000 level. Oh my goodness. You know, talking about less of a bull market, or less of a bear market. Remember, we're typically getting 70% pullbacks here. So far, this bull market, guys, do you understand? We've already had a 33% pullback. 33, the Illuminati, to signal us that the pump was coming. Then over here, we had another 33% pullback. Again, the Illuminati to signal us another pump was coming. So far, we have had a 25%. If we get a 33%, that's going to put us around 83,000. Okay, but if we get a little bit more of a pullback here based on our high time frame divergences, 2 months, this is going to give us about a 45 to 50% pullback, not a 70% pullback, enough to really cool off, enough to really just backtest this major shelf here, and then continue on with the bullishness. And this could happen quick too, right? We might see this soon. Like if what people are saying about the 4-year cycle being destroyed here, and that we're going to see a more extended, more slow and steady bullish trend similar to traditional markets, that's kind of what we'd be looking at, right? And this could happen maybe Q1, Q2 of 2026, and then we end up with a bullish 2026. Could be, right? So $65,000, that's a very key level right there. That's a super key level. And honestly, where in the world would anybody look at something like this and not identify this as being the really nice buy zone? All right, major resistance for 4 years, now flipped into support in a macro uptrend where it's up only basically for the last 12 years. I mean, that's a really nice level, you know. And of course, if we lose 65, then we're going to 38. And if Bitcoin dips below $40,000, I'm going to be irresponsibly buying. I'm going to be out in the wilderness, naked, running through the woods with my smartphone, clicking the buy button. All right, and I'm going to film it for everybody to see. Don't worry though, I won't show anything. We'll keep it PG. All right? We'll keep it PG. More extended hopium. Extend that copium to Q2 next year. Yeah, we're going to have to. I mean, honestly, look, if you want to believe that there's no bear market, you're going to have to extend your copium until the bear market's over. All right? For me with Bitcoin, my actual plan with Bitcoin is I'm not buying anything on spot until we're under $70,000. I'm not buying anything on spot until we're under 70K. This is my personal plan. Until we lose 70,000, I am not touching a new Bitcoin. I'm not buying the dip until we're under 70K. If we come under 50K, I'm going to be buying aggressively. And if we come under 40K, I'm going to be buying irresponsibly. All right, I'm going to dip my toe in under 70. Going to start to deploy some capital under 50. And it's going to get irresponsible, running through the woods naked with the smartphone, taking out everything I own from the bank and buying Bitcoin under 40. All right? The neighbors. It's a good thing I don't have neighbors. Otherwise, I'd end up in jail. Do they let you have a smartphone in jail, or do you still have to use the payphone? I don't know. How much do they pay me for paying such lies? You know we're in a bear market. They pay me so much money. I mean, here's the thing, Christian N6 V6Z. In order to become a crypto YouTuber, especially if you want 100,000 subscribers or more, you have to promise that no matter what, you're always going to be super bullish and say up only. You know, you have to promise never to short Bitcoin, only say buy, and the more people that listen to you and buy, the more money they pay you. They is so rich. Everyone talks about they, but I've met they, and they are so rich. They told me, Jason Casper, if you just tell lies on YouTube, we will pay you millions, billions of dollars, Jason, just to say these lies and to not admit that we're in a bear market. It's crazy. It is crazy. But in all seriousness, go back to my YouTube channel. Let's see. We could go back pretty far. How far ago was I saying the top was in? I've been saying the top was in for a long time. I've been saying the top is in since, I think, our first tap up here. I've been saying, I don't know if the top price is in, but I believe the top of the uptrend is in. And I do believe that. I do believe we're heading into a downtrend. The question is, okay, look, I'm the guy that shorted it from the exact top, all right? And I'm the guy that has my take profit at $65,000, all right? I'm the one that sold Bitcoin and publicly said I'm 80% out of my spot Bitcoin position at 120,000. Publicly said, and people spit in my face because they thought I was Crypto. Then I said, no, I'm just Jason Casper. They took the spit back. They sucked it back. Gross. But no, I've been publicly out of my spot Bitcoin. 80%. I'm 20% in. I'm 80% out at 120,000. 60% out at 100,000. All right? I'm saying I'm not buying Bitcoin unless we dip below 70,000. All right? But here's the thing. All right? You need to understand that in the market, anything is possible. And when we come to these streams, we are simply doing analysis. We are simply doing analysis to say what is possible and how do we prepare for those possibilities, right? If we reclaim 98K, I wouldn't be surprised if we see 130. Right? It's just about where are the support resistance levels at, right? You know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? All right. Look, if you don't know what I'm saying, go to my YouTube channel. Go watch my live streams where I say over and over, I think the top is in. All right. Go to my playlists. Go to the free trading course. And this will teach you how to be a trader and make money regardless of whatever the market's doing. All right. Come in here in a given day, make some money. Doesn't matter if anything is bullish or bearish or whatever. All right, this is the secret. This is the real secret right here. And it's for free. And if you want to trade Bitcoin and altcoins, check out the link in the pinned comment for KCEX, the lowest deal on fees. All right, plus they're giving up to a $21,000 bonus. If you want to join the Casper crew, where I let everyone know I was shorting on October 6th at 3:48 p.m. or where let everyone know I was shorting on November 10th at 8:40 p.m. after taking profit on my long, which I also gave in advance in the Casper crew. You can go to jasoncaspertrading.com. All right, that's where, and all the knowledge is free. All right, all the knowledge is free on YouTube. Why am I not maximizing gains and selling spot Bitcoin? Oh, yeah, Keith wants to know. This is so true, like for anybody. Why are you not maximizing gains by selling the Bitcoin you bought between 15 and 20? For sure, right? For sure. That's the way to do it. Bear markets usually run for a year, so caffeine injected. The bear market typically runs for a year. Now, the big question is, are we going to see another typical bear market, right? This is a big question. So I don't think we can know for certain. We can plan for about a year of downside, which would put us around the summer of 2026. All right. So if the data that we have says usually the downtrend lasts about a year, we have some very macro high time frame bearish signals on the 2-month. And so what should we do? Well, we should mark out the key supports. Key support number 1, quite simply, is going to be this right here, right? Could we in a year come down, do something like this, do something like that, do something like this, and then do something like that? Yeah, for sure, right? For sure, we could. Right, and so this $65,000 to $70,000 zone, very key place to keep on our chart. Right now, let's assume that the 4-year cycle is still here. Right, it is interesting. Everyone's talking about the 4-year cycle being broken now. Let's assume the market maker is going to keep the 4-year cycle here just to screw everybody over. Well, then what do we look for? Then we look for the price to come and dip down into the 786 fib. All right, so the first cycle ever. Bear market ends between the 786 and the 886. Second bear market ever, price dips down into the 786, 886, right? Third bear market ever, price dips down right into the 786, 886 fib, right? Exactly to that zone. That's the bottom, right? Every time, that's our bottom. All right, let's just make it more clear to see. The fourth bear market, guess what? Where do we come down to? Oh, the 786, the 886 fib. Okay, so if it's going to repeat this pattern this time, and if we're not going to see a more shallow bear market due to institutional and big money coming in, then we would expect us to come down into our 786, 886 fib, which is going to be, guys, just under $40,000. All right, now notice every bear market we dip more shallow into the zone, right? So the first one, we have a big dip below the 886. Second one, we tap the 886 to the dollar. Third one, we don't tap the 886, but we lose the 786, double dip. Fourth one, little bounce from the 786, double dip, 786, boom. This time, so I wouldn't be surprised if we just come maybe front run or just tap quick that 786 at around just losing 40,000. All right? Just losing 40,000. I'm actually really curious to see. Look at that. That would also be the POC of the 2021 bull market range, right? So in the event of a real bull bear market that goes into the fall of 2026, this would be the time and the price to really get in. I mean, historically speaking, based on time and Fibonacci, this would be the place that we'd expect the bottom. Of time and of price, right? So we would expect something like this, come down, lose that low, get a little bit of retrace, head and shoulder, come down, grinding. We're losing 50K, everyone's real bearish. And then what do you know? The slow and steady bull market starts up again, you know? So this is what to expect if things are going to continue as they have in the past. But it is different this time. Remember, in January 2024, we did see the 4-year cycle change behavior. Instead of a 50% pullback from the 618, we got a 20% pullback, right? So historically speaking, let's pull this here. Historically speaking, in the bull market, in the bear market, right? We would come up, we would get a little bit of a rejection from our golden pocket, and we'd get a pullback to back test the bear market support resistance flip zone. All right, we come up to the 618, we reject, we come down about 50% to hit that support that we had in the bull market, that resistance that we had in the bear market, right? It happened back here in 2016. Then over here, 2017, 2018, look at this. We reject from the golden pocket, we come down to hit the support resistance flip that we made during the bull market of about About 55% if we don't include the COVID wick, all right? So this time now, what happened was we came up and we hit into the Fibonacci golden pocket, but instead of a 50% pullback pre-halving, we ended up this time with a 20% pullback pre-halving. So the scheduled pullback, which historically was 50%, we were expecting 50% to come back down to test the $30,000 support resistance flip, right? That would have been about I guess about a 40% correction. But we only got about half of that, right? We only got about half of that. And then we made a new all-time high before the halving. So the hypothesis now is that the 4-year cycle is broken and the pullbacks are not going to be as extreme. Okay, so if the pullbacks are not going to be as extreme, then we shouldn't be looking for the 40,000. We should be looking for the back test of this key zone here, right? Around that $65,000 area. This would allow us to basically do what we did in January. We get a scheduled pullback, but it's not as intense as what it used to be. Why? Because there is institutional money coming in and new investors coming in via however you say that, the ETFs and all that kind of stuff. Right? Right. We understand. Quantum computers will kill Bitcoin. It could very well be. I don't know exactly what the quantum computers are capable of, but if Bitcoin eventually ends up being a massive rug because of quantum computing, I hope not. But it is possible. I don't know what is possible. I've heard people say, no, don't worry, we have ways around that. I don't know. It is scary to think about quantum computing and its effects on everything. I mean, can you imagine the power of AI with quantum computing? You know, it almost seems as if those future days will not be shortened. No flesh would be saved. You know? Scary times we're heading into, faux show. M2 indicator, slag. Yeah, look, the M2 money supply, we could still follow it eventually. Yeah, money from Bitcoin right now is flowing into XRP because of the ETF, absolutely. I mean, we saw that. Look at XRP on the day. The only thing in the blue, well, it's back in the purple, but it was in the blue, pretty much. And we're pretty much right around daily open today, but we had a wick to the downside, and then we had up. You know, we did have the ETF, man. Bullish. 26 million volume in half an hour. I wonder what it has done now. Could XRP, spot exchange traded fund, notch the year's hottest start for any fund? I wonder which AI wrote this sentence. What do you think, Grok or ChatGPT? Or what's the other one? I don't know. Which AI wrote this article, you guys think? It definitely wasn't Brenda Nagari. Brenda Nagari is probably not even real. Brenda Nagari is not even a girl. Brenda Nagari is some guy, probably in India, on some kind of AI, right? I don't know. Let me know in the chat what you think. What about the Bitcoin pairs? They're forming bottoms. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin pairs have been forming bottoms for a long time. I mean, if it starts, we know we only have 7 years of it. I don't know. I say we only have 3.5 years of it, man. That's my view. I think that last week starts before it gets really bad. But shout out to Dave Digital. I get what you're saying, bro. If it starts, we only have a limited time. You know? Amen. 1,260 days, 43 months, 3.5 years. Not too bad for XR Pizzle. Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, shout out to Dave B, not financial advice. Yeah, I'm with you, Dave B. I'm in the Dave B camp, all right? I'm in the Dave B camp. Someone needs to set the crypto AI market maker in friend mode because this ain't it. Yeah, interesting times, right? Faux show. Faux shizzle. Interesting times, faux shizzle. Shout out to Dave Digital, who follows the Billy Casper Bible channel. I follow that channel too. That's a good channel to follow. If you want to follow it. Alright. Alright. Well, shout out to y'all guys. I hope everyone's having a good week. Pump song. Shout out to Marcuso Valaro. I don't know if it's a good time to sing the pump song, man. I just don't know. I don't think it's a good time to sing the pump song. Fear of Paul 823 is longing here. I mean, look, it's not a bad idea in general to long support, but let's like even go to our lower time frames on Bitcoin and like, do we have some bull divs here? Okay, I could see why you would long this actually. I could absolutely see why you would long this. Ideally, I would want to see another drop. But if you're looking for a swing position and you're using good risk management, I can see why you would dip your toe in here for sure. We're at key support. I could see it. Have I been seeing Zcash? Let's check out Zcash real quick. All right. Let's check out Zcash. Last thing I saw, it was pumping like a wild lady, and then got a little bit of consolidazione.